in every storm. You are the reason our praises roar. There is no distance you've yet to climb, no shadow of darkness can hide your light. Nothing between us, nothing to hide. You are all I want, you are all I need, you are everything, you're enough for me, enough for me, yeah. You hold the future, you know my past, still you are for me, with love unmatched. There is no measure to count your grace, no treasure or fortune to take your place. Jesus, forever you will remain. You are all I want, you are all I need, you are everything, you're enough for me, enough for me. You are all I want, you are all I need, you are everything, you're enough for me, enough for me, yeah. Whoa. In every season, in every storm, you are the reason our praises roar. You are all I want, you are all I need, you are everything, you're enough for me, enough for me. You are all I want, you are all I need, you are everything, you're enough for me, enough for me, yeah. Whoa. Whoa.
Hey everyone, happy Sunday. I'm Haley Brown, the Director of Volunteers and Serve Culture. Welcome to WCC and Church Online. If it's your first time with us, we're so glad you're here and we hope you come back next Sunday. This weekend, we're continuing our series Unmasking Monsters, talking about how to navigate difficult relationships, especially in this season. But before we continue our service, we want to tell you about some things that are coming up at WCC. First, Trunk or Treat is happening this Saturday, October 31st from 3 to 5 p.m. at the WCC campus. Dress up, drive through our parking lot, and come celebrate the season with us. You can even enjoy a little I Spy game from your car as you search for hidden pumpkins throughout our campus. There will also be an opportunity for you to take a photo with your crew at our photo booth. We'll see you this Saturday. Next, kicking off Sunday, November 1st, we'll begin hosting Sundays at WCC. We've missed seeing you and are creating opportunities to get together on Sunday mornings while following state and CDC guidelines. We will be offering a rotation of prayer and worship times as well as watch parties. The watch parties will be just that. We will watch the service together in the gym on the big screen while being around other members of the WCC family, who I know many of you have missed just as much as we have. And then we will have times of prayer and worship, where we will get to sing and pray together. We have already hosted a couple of worship nights in this season, and those have been so powerful and amazing. Now we'll be moving those times to Sunday morning and encouraging you to sign up, get here, and bring friends as well. To find out which dates are watch parties and which dates are worship and prayer times, and of course, how to register and save your spot, visit our website, willamette.cc, and find all that information on our homepage. Well, in just a moment, we're going to hear from our lead pastor, Kevin, as he continues our series, Unmasking Monsters. Kevin will be giving a very important and powerful message of how to avoid isolation in this season. But first, let's enjoy one more song of worship.
In the darkest of nights, when the quiet is deafening, in the depths of my pain, when peace is lost, in the lowest of valleys, when fear takes hold of me, you pull me close. You don't waste the heartache, you don't waste the pain. You see every tear that falls and never look away. You don't waste the waiting, you don't waste the shame. You gather up the pieces and you put them back again. When I lose my way and have no clarity, when faith has failed and I can't see, oh, and when all that I've built comes crashing down on me, oh, you hold me close. You don't waste the heartache, you don't waste the pain. You see every tear that falls and never look away. You don't waste the waiting, and you don't waste the shame. You gather up the pieces and you put them back again. You don't waste the heartache, you don't waste the pain. You see every tear that falls and never look away. You don't waste the waiting, and you don't waste the shame. You gather up the pieces and you put them back again. Oh, step by step, day by day, through the scars you make a way, brick by brick, piece by piece, you're rebuilding all of me. Step by step, day by day, through the scars you make a way, brick by brick, piece by piece, you're rebuilding all of me. Step by step, day by day, through the scars you make a way, brick by brick, piece by piece, you're rebuilding all of me. Oh, you don't waste the
Well, welcome to WCC and to Church Online. So excited to have you joining us today, wherever it is you are checking in from. So glad you're with us. As I'm recording this, the weather has just started to turn cold here in Oregon. So if you see me shaking, it is not because we had an earthquake. It's because my body is revolting against the cool front that has moved in. But we are glad you're with us. Before we jump into our topic today, just want to give you a quick update in case you missed it during the announcement time. Maybe your kids came running into the living room. Maybe the Amazon guy showed up and rang the doorbell. But hey, with so much going on this fall, community groups are back and rolling. Our high school and our middle school just started meeting. Lots of great things. We're also having Sunday mornings at WCC starting November 1st at 10 a.m. We're going to have both watch parties and we're going to have prayer and worship times. So the watch party is just what it sounds like. You can come and watch an entire service with some of your friends or family from WCC. The worship and prayer times, we're going to sing together and spend some time praying together, praying for you, praying for those that you would like us to pray for. Those times are great. We're still going to socially distance and observe all of the regulations, but we want a chance to get together. So you can go online to willamette.cc, find which days those are happening on Sunday and when you can sign up. So be sure to go ahead and do that. But now, we're continuing in this series that we've called Unmasking Monsters, talking about how to navigate the drama and the conflict and the challenges and, the danger zones that we find creeping up within ourselves, especially in this current season, right? Anybody watching right now, have you experienced those things going on in, the past few months? Which, listen, if your answer is nope, not me, well then congratulations, because somehow you have figured out how to sleep through the past 8 months of COVID. So, welcome out of hibernation and welcome back to the real world. So feel free to join us as we continue to walk through this series and talk about how to maintain healthy, Christ-like relationships in a very taxing and a very difficult season. And what we've been doing, we've been having some fun with this series as we're in the middle of the fall and October and the Halloween season. And we're using these classic monsters, movie monsters, to help us demonstrate these different themes that we're talking about through this series. So a couple of weeks ago, I talked to you about zombies, right? The walking dead and how we have healthy, Christ-centered confrontation. Last weekend, Megan Lemons, she talked about the werewolf and anger and this rage of so much that what we see above the surface is indicators of what's going on below the surface, how to lament. And she did an incredible job. If you missed that, be sure you jump online and go catch that as well. But this week, we are talking about the mummy. And listen, mummification, that's actually an ancient practice of preserving dead bodies or corpses, right, of both animals and of people through embalming, right? And primarily it's associated with Egypt. We think tombs, we think the pyramids, Pharaoh, King Tut, but they've actually been found mummies on every continent. And listen, the mummy genre of literature began in the 19th century whenever Egypt was being colonized by France. And so mummies at that point, they were primarily built around female characters and presented in this romantic light. Okay, well, listen, I've not read any of that literature. I've not read any of those books. I read that online, so I understand the reliability of my source. I'm not dying on this hill if you're like, that's not actually how it started. Okay, I'm just telling you what I found. But the monster mummy that most of us are much more familiar with, that actually was first highlighted by Boris Karloff in his 1932 movie called The Mummy, right? And since then, the mummy has kind of found his place alongside, other classic movie monsters, Dracula, the werewolf, in movies like Hotel Transylvania, right? There's one for the kids. And again, the mummy is oftentimes depicted as this undead creature who is seeking revenge against someone who has defiled or invaded his tomb, and now seeking revenge for that. Okay, enough backstory on the mummy. What I wanted to get to is this, that one of the things that distinguishes a mummy are these strips of cloth that they are covered up or that they are wrapped in. And listen, maybe you've seen this, like maybe they look like they're coming unraveled, but covered up nonetheless. So unlike the zombie, right? The zombie that just got like eyes flopping out, body parts barely hanging on. The mummy hides, or the mummy covers up. It masks what's on the inside and what's underneath so that you can't see their true self or what's really going on underneath the strips. Right? Hello, right? Look out. This is about to get personal, right? Because we oftentimes wrap ourselves in strips of the story that we want people to see. Because so many of us, we're oftentimes tempted to wear the mask, right? To cover up who we really are or to cover up what it is that's really going on inside of us. And listen, everybody watching right now, or most of you, you are familiar with the concept of wearing the mask. And you have all practiced this at different levels, right? Hello. Have you ever taken a family picture, right, with small children? Okay, what you send out is your Christmas card. That is a mask of what actually went down in that photo shoot. Right? It is like the one picture of 10,000 where you were able to get all of your kids and your husband to smile and to pay attention and pretend like they actually liked each other all at the same time. Right? I mean, come on, we're all familiar with this. If you have small children, right, maybe you've got that one infant or that small kid that they're just not watching, right? They're just distracted by butterflies or whatever else is going on around them. And it doesn't matter how many goofy faces or tricks the photographer has up their sleeve. They're just not looking. They're not going to look at the camera or smile. Maybe you've got the tween or the teen that is on their phone. They're on social media, looking at Instagram, maybe, looking at TikToks, and all they want to know is, are we almost done? Can we leave now? Maybe you've got the toddler that is just in full-on meltdown, right? Just like a wet noodle. They're just flopping, throwing themselves on the ground, throwing a fit. Where you get to the point where you're saying, I will sell all of your toys. Right? I will turn off your social media forever. Give away the dog and make you sleep in his bed if you do not act like you are happy to be here. Do not try me, right? Are we good? All right, everybody say cheese, right? Maybe you've done this on the way to church before, where in the car on your drive over, you're just, for whatever reason, irritated and you're frustrated, you're upset, you're fighting with one another until you pull into the church parking lot and you see the greeter who smiles and waves at you, right? And then you kind of throw out that final warning, like, you better act like you love Jesus and one another. Straighten up your halo, and then you smile and you wave back and you start singing, Oh Happy Day or whatever. Come on, the mask. Is this not what so much of social media is? Just projecting the image, right? Putting on the mask that we want people to see, which may not be true, or at least may not be a complete picture of what's really going on. So many of us are tempted to wear the mask sometimes, to project the story that we want people to see, to wrap ourselves either in the story that we want people to see, or to wrap ourselves in maybe something that's happened to us and let that define us. Counselors will talk about the different masks that we are tempted to wear, that we often put on. Let me give you a few of the masks that they identify. How about this? The first one, the good person mask. Right? The good person? She helps out, she serves, she stays late, she sacrifices, communicating, hey, I'm fine, right? I don't need anything. I am just here to serve. So, never sharing their heart or their needs or their hurt. Just, I'm fine. I'm just here to serve, and pretending like everything's good so that you can't see the cracks from the pressure that's starting to build. Next mask they talk about, the fun person mask. The fun person, everything, right? Everything is a joke. They are the life of the party, always having a good time, right? And they are trying to give the impression, nothing bothers me, right? I just laugh and I just have a good time because I don't want you to see how sad I really am. So they become like the Joker, right? Just always joking because nobody wants to be with a sad and a broken person. Or how about this? Maybe this is you. The tough guy mask. You know the tough guy? Oh, I'm fine, right? Nothing hurts me because I'm tough, right? I almost got hurt once, but that will never happen again. It reminds me when my kids were little, we watched Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Maybe you've seen this show where they've got the police officer. He's like the Mr. T type guy, which I know. I just dated myself referencing Mr. T. But he's like Mr. T, and he's like, I almost cried once, but then I said, tear. Get back up in there. And like he sucks the tear back up into his eye, right? You ask this person, how's your marriage, right? How is your life going? How's your family? How are you feeling? And they respond, I don't need to talk about that. Oh, why? Was it a bad experience? Was it painful? Is there something going on there? No, it doesn't matter. I'm tough, so everything is good. And listen, whenever you do that, whenever you wear the mask, you start to project those things, you can begin to isolate yourself from others. You can begin to isolate yourself from Jesus. Whenever you become defined by the pain or the past or the things you keep covering yourself in, you can begin to push yourself away from everyone else. And so today, I want us to look at a story about this encounter that Jesus has with this guy who maybe he's got some sin or brokenness or hurt. We're not sure what he's got in the past, but it has caused him to become isolated. And I want you to see how Jesus interacts. So we'll pick it up. Luke chapter 8, verse 26. Here's what Luke records. He says, they sailed to the region of the Gerasenes, which is across the lake from Galilee. When Jesus stepped ashore, he was met by a demon-possessed man from the town. Which, okay, how many of you, if when you travel, you go on a trip, right? You go on the airplane and you get off the plane and that person's there to greet you, maybe to pick you up and give you a ride. They've got like a sign with your name. You're hoping it's not some guy like this, all right? Here's what it goes on to tell us. For a long time, this man had not worn clothes or lived in a house, but had lived in the tombs. So let's just pause and talk. Jesus gets off the boat. He is absolutely exhausted. And the first thing he sees is this demonized guy coming at him. Now let me give you a little background if you're new to church, if this is new to you, to set it up. And this is such a great story for the time of year that we're in. We like creepy things, weird things. Okay, this is all of that. So here's the backdrop. Jesus had been teaching all day long. As evening comes and the day wraps up, he tells his 12 disciples to get into this boat and to head out across the shore or across the lake to the other side. So they start rowing across the lake. Jesus is in the back of the boat, sound asleep, just because he is totally worn out. And this furious storm, it comes up out of nowhere and just comes crashing into them and their boat. Now listen, Peter, James, John, Andrew, some of Jesus' closest friends and his followers, they are in the boat with Jesus. And these guys, they are fishermen. They make their living on the sea. They make their living on the lake. They're used to rough waters, okay? But this one is so bad that they are freaking out, right? They're afraid for their lives. So they go and they wake Jesus up from his sleep. I mean, he's out hard. He wakes up, calms the storm, right? Puts the storm in timeout, goes silent. And they have this moment where they're amazed, like, who is this man that the wind and waves obey him? And then he's asking them, where's your faith? So they have this moment. Jesus goes back to sleep and they continue on their journey on across to the regions of the Gerasenes. Okay, now, keep in mind, the disciples are probably still a little bit spooked from the storm. I mean, huge waves, it's late, thunder, lightning, it has spooked them. Okay, well now it's likely still late into the night. It is probably very dark and likely very eerie, right? As they hear three sounds protruding through the fog and through the darkness. They hear the sound of the oars hitting the water, right? They hear the sound of pigs grunting, snorting in the distance. And then they hear this demoniac, right? He's howling, maybe a tortured cry coming through the fog and through the darkness. So they're continuing through on the lake toward the shore where they're hearing this sound. Okay, so the shore or the shoreline, probably 15, 20, 25 yards of shoreline. Then you have these bluffs that go up, these hills. In the bluffs are tombs, and in the tombs are dead people, right? Except for one. And Mark and in Luke's account, they tell us this demon-possessed guy, he lives in the tombs, okay? And his name is Legion, which a legion was a unit in the Roman army that the standard size was up to 6,000 men. Okay, so listen, potentially this man has 6,000 evil spirits that are living in him, which to me sounds very crowded, okay? But it would make sense because we're told that they tried to bind this man hand and foot with chains of iron, and he broke them, right? He just snapped them like they were twigs. So no one is able to subdue this guy. They can't stop him. Again, he hasn't worn clothing for a long time. Right? So just imagine he's just wild-eyed. He is bushy-haired. Maybe he's missing teeth. So he's just like walking around with a twitch, right? And never blinking. That's this guy, twitching and not blinking. Which, can I suggest to you, and I hope that you don't ever get into a fight, but if you do, and the guy you're going to fight shows up not wearing pants, you should just turn around and go home, right? Just tap out and walk away because nobody wins in that fight. But listen, this guy, he lives in the tombs and he cries out just day and night, just tortured, miserable, taking sharp objects, rocks, cutting, slashing himself. And right now, it's the middle of the night, and he is running down these hills, these bluffs, at full speed towards Peter and towards Jesus and the disciples. And you have to imagine Peter, right? I want your imagination to see this scene. Peter, he's probably the first one out of the boat because Peter's kind of like the leader of the disciples, and he's always got to be first, right? He's just so impetuous. He's got to go first. So he's probably out of the boat ahead of the rest of them, got a rope pulling the boat ashore, waiting for the rest of the guys to catch up, when all of a sudden he turns around and he looks up, and here is this demon-possessed guy racing toward him, right? Just shouting and screaming like a crazy man. Like you have to imagine and see how this scene played out in real life. Peter tripping and stumbling over himself, trying to get back into the boat and behind Jesus. So here comes this guy running down the hill at them, right? He gets 20 yards from the boat. He gets 15, 10. He's not slowing down. He gets about 5 feet from the boat, and something amazing happens. He slides down on his knees, and he comes to this screeching halt right in front of Jesus. And he says these words, "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you," and I'm begging you, please do not torture me. Because listen, and someone needs to hear this, whatever obstacle, whatever addiction, whatever challenge, whatever problem it is you are facing, those things pale in and they are powerless in the presence of Jesus. And listen, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying your thing's not real or big or even daunting, but I'm telling you it is powerless in the presence of Christ. So let's go and look at the story and talk about it a little bit more. Here's what we read in verse 28. We're told, when he saw Jesus, so this demonized guy, he cried out and he fell at his feet, shouting at the top of his voice, "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you, don't torture me." For Jesus had commanded the impure spirit to come out of the man. Many times it had seized him, and though he was chained hand and foot and kept under guard, he had broken his chains and had been driven by the demons where? into solitary places. Okay, listen, I want you to make note of that. Driven into solitary places, which is what often happens when we begin to wear the mask, when we become defined by or we get stuck in the past or in the pain with whatever those strips of story that we're trying to project, because we don't want people to see what's really going on. And so I want to show you a little bit more about how beautiful this story is and the hope that you can find. And first, I would say that this guy is probably legendary in his town, or maybe legendary is the wrong word, maybe notorious, more like that. Kids know, hey, don't go play by the graveyard, man, right? Do not go over by the tombs because the crazy, naked demon guy is running around there. Everyone, all the people have totally given up on him. Right? They have written him off. There is no hope for this guy. They tried to shackle him, right? They tried to control him, and he just broke the shackles. They couldn't do that. So they just left him alone, right? They just let him run wild, and they just absolutely avoid him. Out of sight, out of mind, mostly. But then listen, then Jesus shows up. And he doesn't avoid him, and he does see him, and he talks to him, and he casts these demons out of the man into these pigs, right? The demons' request that then go running down the bluffs into the lake, and they drown, right? Just wild, crazy story. We don't have time for all the story, but I do want you to see what Luke records about these men that were watching these pigs. Here's what we read, picking it up in verse 34. We're told this. When those tending the pigs saw what had happened, they ran off and reported this in the town and countryside. So it headlined the news, breaking news. Here's what just happened. Verse 35, and the people went out to see what had happened. So it creates all kinds of buzz. It is trending on Twitter. Everyone's talking. When they came to Jesus, they found the man from whom the demons had gone out, sitting at Jesus' feet, dressed and in his right mind. So he's fixed his hair, he took a bath, shaved, put on clothes, right? He's got a pen and a journal, taking notes. Why? Listen, why? Because nobody is beyond the grace of God. This is why we don't lose hope and we don't give up on anyone, right? Because this is what Jesus does. He changes people. It doesn't matter right now where you are at. Listen, if you are alive, there is always, always hope because Jesus could change you, right? If you're not dead, he's not done. And listen, maybe it happens for you in an instant, just like there. Maybe for some people, it takes years. It's maybe, or at least a journey or a process. But Jesus changes the most unlikely, most unbelievable people who seem to be completely beyond hope. Right? Think about this, because even the townspeople, right? They come out from the town in this story. They're going, okay, hey, where is the crazy demon guy, right? Where's the guy with all the junk and all the dysfunction and all the shame or broken or hurt in his past that comes out here to hide all by himself? And they're like, oh no, that's him. Right over there. They're like, no, not that guy. We're talking about the guy with no pants and the Duck Dynasty beard, right? That scares little kids and moans in misery. Where is he? And I know that's that guy, right? He's sitting over there eating, laughing, enjoying life, sharing his story and not trying to hide his story. And hear me, this is our hope for people. This is our hope for you. This is our hope for our community, for our city, for our country. This is our hope for the world. And listen, as we come up on election season, okay, I hope that you vote for your candidate. And I hope your candidate wins. I hope that you sign up for and support those causes you feel strongly about. I hope you give towards whatever organization that champions the things you value. I hope you step up. I hope you speak up. But listen, it is Jesus who changes hearts and he changes lives, and it is Jesus that we need. And our ultimate hope is to point people towards him, because when they meet him, anything can happen. And this is why we don't give up hope, and we don't give up on anyone, because Jesus didn't give up on us, right? So after this guy, after he meets Jesus, Jesus isn't going to let his pain or his past or his problems define him. Look what we read next in this story, verse 38. We're told this: the man from whom the demons had gone out begged to go with him, right? He wants to travel with Jesus, but Jesus sent him away saying, return home and tell how much God has done for you. So the man went away and told all over the town how much Jesus had done for him. Okay, so how does he go from shame or hiding or being defined or isolated by his brokenness to rejoicing and shouting from the rooftops all that he has been, right? All that he's got and all that Jesus has done for him. Okay, I heard this line from Erwin McManus years ago, and I love this line, and I want to share it with you. I think it ties to what happened here. And this is what he said. He said, I want to spread. I want to amplify everything that is good about you, and I want to absorb everything that is bad, right? So that I want to be the end of the road for anything that is negative, and I want to be the beginning of a movement for everything that is positive, right? Which, yes, I agree. I would love that for you as well. But listen, if you don't hear anything else that we've talked about today, please hear this part, because he is just saying exactly what it is that Jesus has done for you and for me. That Jesus died on the cross to absorb our sin and our shame, our mistakes, our past, our addictions, our failures, everything bad about you and about me, right? Past, present, and future. The jacked up stuff that we haven't even got to yet. He took all of that on himself. So that like this guy, he can make you and I into a new creation. And then whenever you blow it, he could still restore you. And therefore, he can champion and announce so much good about you. And listen, I know that it is a very hard and long season that we're in right now in so many ways. And for sure, so many people are struggling with mental or emotional or even spiritual health. So listen, maybe the addiction has flared back up, right? As you've been stressed or depressed, or you're home or lost a job, or the kids, whatever. It flared back up. The past, it crept back in, right? You thought that thing was gone, and all of a sudden it's worked its way back in. Some demons have begun to haunt you. Maybe you just made a really selfish and a really foolish decision that you deeply regret. Okay, and I get that, but listen, all those things, they have no power over you. They have no control over you. They have no ability to define you in the presence of Jesus. Okay, but listen, you have to trust him, and you have to surrender those things to him. Okay, I want to stir right now for someone listening to this. I want to stir in you hope again, all right? Hope that you would take off the mask, that you would come out of hiding and begin to live again. And listen, hope, it is fully aware that things hurt. It's fully aware that things are hard and that brokenness is real, right? It knows that, and that's okay. But hope looks beyond current circumstances, what we're right now facing, and it trusts fundamentally that God is working good for his people, and that Jesus is for you, that God is working all things together for his glory, and he's not finished, and he's not done, and he doesn't give up or abandon or turn his back on his kids. So hear me, there is hope. And I really want that for you. So here's my question as you go away, or maybe as you meet in your groups this week. What is the mask that you're wearing? Or what is the mask you tend to put on when things get challenging or you don't want people to see maybe what you're really wrestling with or what you're hiding from back here? The good person mask, the fun person, the tough guy. What is it for you? What is it you need to surrender, right? Take off and lay at Jesus' feet so that he could absorb, right? All those things and then amplify and restore so much good that he has for you. Because whatever it is that maybe you've lost or are losing, we want you to find that and be restored to all that is good. So let's pray. Heavenly Father, right now, I do know that it's been a long season. And I know that it's so many people are feeling the weight of that. And so maybe it's creating some things to come back up, some things that they regret, some things we thought we got free of that all of a sudden we find ourselves chained to again, or putting on the mask, the image that is really so restricting and life-sucking. And it may not be easy as we're home with kids or lost a job or just can't do the things we had before, that we begin to cover up and life begins to drain. And it becomes so toxic and so draining. And I pray today for the freedom to let that go, to know that Jesus sees it and he wants to take it and he wants to restore life. And it may not be an easy journey and it may take some time, but it is the road back to life. And may we embrace that today. And for the person who has never met you and crossed that line of faith, that would be the starting point to find hope and freedom and new promise. And today, they would have the courage to make that step. So we acknowledge that we need you, but we want the story of restoration and hope and life again for where that has begun to fade away. So Jesus, thank you for the way you love us. Thank you for the way you pursue us. Thank you for absorbing all that is broken so that we could live in life to the full. We pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. So listen, if you're watching today and you would like prayer, right? If you would like to know more about following Christ or just how to get connected with others in community, you can find all of those things plus more on our website, willamette.cc. Be sure to go there. Let us know what you would like help with or how we can pray for you, connect you. And then next week, we finish up with what will be a very challenging word for all of us, but will be so important and so encouraging. So I love you. See you next time.